Hello everyone, my name is Francesco Verdoja and today I will be presenting Bayesian Floor Field, transferring people flow predictions across environments. When we talk about people flow, we talk about modeling how people move in an environment. Such models can be used for crowd-aware navigation. We can use it to reason over probable user location, or outside robotics, such models are often used in building design in order to achieve desired people flow. The most common way to model people flow are maps of dynamics. These maps are typically built by observing trajectories of people in an environment over a large period of time, collecting these trajectories in a local model where for each cell some type of distribution probability is retained and modeled. You do this over and over the whole environment and you get a model of the whole flow. These type of models have, however, some limitations. As I said, they are built from trajectories, so you have to observe a lot of trajectories before your model is actually any good. No model for observed areas is available because if you have not seen anyone move in a certain area of the environment, you have no way of predicting how people would move there. And also, whichever model you have built only applies to the environment you have seen people move in. So in this work, we try to address these three limitations of maps of dynamics by leveraging a simple intuition, which is that occupancy, meaning basically the geometry of an environment, where walls are, where stairs are, and this type of thing, are actually a good predictor of how people move. We propose then, therefore, a method to basically combine these two sources of information. This method uses occupancy as a prior, so without any need for trajectory data, by just looking at the occupancy of an environment, which is very easy to collect with a robot or possibly available through architectural drawing of your building, you can already have a first estimate of how people would use that space. And then as soon as you gather trajectories, those trajectories can be incorporated in this model as observation and basically override parts of your occupancy-based model that were incorrect. Basically, how does this work? So for each cell, as I've shown in the previous slide, we maintain the probability that a person moving towards direction delta will have, and this probability is given as a categorical distribution over k direction. In our case, we are using 8, but the model could be used with a different amount of directions as well. And so, for example, once we have constructed this model, the probability of a person moving towards direction delta 1 is given by whatever is the probability that we assign to the D4, and people will move towards direction delta 2 with whatever probability we have assigned to D7. So to obtain this model, we propose a Bayesian approach. So we have our prior, which is obtained in our case from occupancy. Then we have a set of observations and that are obtained from our trajectories. And then we set a concentration parameter alpha that indicates how much we trust our prior, and given an array of called QC that contains how many occurrences of a certain direction have been observed in our data set of observation, then our posteriors will be distributed according to this Dirichlet conjugate prior. So based on this property, with the expected value of each directional probability for our cells can be estimated according to this equation. One thing that I haven't yet discussed much is how we obtain our prior from occupancy. For this, we have trained an occupancy-based deep transition model that you can see here. It takes an occupancy window around a portion of the environment, and the network produces as an output the 8 directional dynamics of the center pixel in the window. So basically, this is the context that we give to our network in terms of occupancy. And we ask this network and we train this network to predict basically what would be the prior for this location. So we have trained this network over the ATC dataset. So this dataset is a dataset of a lot of trajectories gathered over multiple days in a shopping mall in Japan. And we took the trajectories from one specific day, in this case, this Wednesday, to train our network. And we tested basically our full pipeline, so the combination of the prior and the trajectories, both on the same shopping mall, but on a different day. So to see if we can predict correctly unseen trajectories if we have a known occupancy, but we also want to test whether it's possible for us to generalize to a completely unseen environment where both the occupancy have never been seen before doing training, and also the trajectories, of course. So for this, we use the KTH trajectory dataset. We are computing as a metric the average likelihood that a new data set could be predicted by this model. So basically, we run the new data set through our model, and we see what probability it gives to each observation contained in the data set. So how much is that data set aligned with our model? And since our hypothesis is that our prior will improve the performance when the number of observation is low, and over time, of course, as more observation becomes available, the contribution of the prior will decrease, and we will see the same performance whether you add the prior or not. We evaluate basically the performance or we evaluate the average likelihood over a growing data set where we evaluate after every 2,000 observations. So now showing the results, we can see that when we are talking about the same environment, our model trained on a different day compared to basically the model that doesn't use the prior at all. So this is the state-of-the-art floor field, which is the frequentistic trajectory-based model, which is shown here in purple. Our model is actually able to contribute to performance in the earlier part. Here we are showing 3 different variants of our model. Is at 1 meter per pixel, to 0.8 meter per pixel, or 0.4 meter per pixel. So we can see that in this case, the 0.4 meter per pixel network is actually able is more informative, and it's able to improve the performance more than the other model. We also include here a model that is built based on a uniform uninformed prior, where basically the probability for our prior is giving the same probability to every direction all the time. And you can see that actually trusting a prior that is incorrect actually hinders your performance quite a lot. And you can see here that as the number of observation grows, the performance of all the models tend to converge because they all start to trust in the trajectories more and more over time. But here we are talking about these numbers are multiplied by 10 to the 5th. So here we are talking about a large number of trajectories already. So in the general robotics context, we are more around this area. Here we are showing also an upper bound. This is the performance that you can get that the, let's say, floor field model will achieve when it has seen all the trajectories. So this is the optimal model that can be built from those trajectories. When we move to a different environment, we can see again an interesting observation where our models again improve the performance in the earlier stages of while we gather more and more observations, and then over time they converge to the same performance as the traditional floor field model. The interesting part is that if we look at the point where 0 trajectories were observed, so at the beginning of the graph, these models are already predicting to the level of performance that will be achieved around 10,000 observations. So it's basically equivalent to the first 10,000 observations in terms of performance. And then the performance increases quite dramatically as more data becomes available. So visually, we can observe kind of how this behavior actually looks. So if we look at this 10,000 data point that we have mentioned, our prior looks like this. So this is the prior without having observed any trajectory. This is what our model looks like. Basically, our trajectory-based model would look like without a prior at that when only those amount of trajectories have been observed. And the combination of the two, basically, which is our proposed model, is looking, I would say, better than the two when compared to the gold standard, which is basically what the model will look like when it has observed all the trajectories available. So you can see that in the areas where we have observation, the model has been corrected, but in the areas where we didn't see any people, we were still able to predict a reasonable model. Or if we move to the other environment here, it's interesting to see how the prior, of course, is not perfect, but still kind of shows some general behavior of people, for example, that around corner, a certain portion of people will transition and move around the corner while others will continue straight. And again, here, once we have some number of trajectory data, we combine it and our prior gets overridden when more data is available. And then again, we can observe how the combined model is a better fit to the gold standard than either of these two models on their own. So all in all, the takeaways from this presentation is that occupancy can, and in our opinion, should be leveraged to model people flow. Our occupancy model has been shown to generalize to new environment and to improve the performance of trajectory-based methods alone in those environments. And that Bayesian floor field reduced considerably the need for large amount of trajectory data because the performance under regimes of low trajectory data are already quite good. So thanks for listening, and you can read the paper and download the code following this link. Thanks a lot.